Doster. That lovely, lovely gentleman you see over there is my co-host. I like to call him my assistant sometimes. He's back to wearing the cow hat. I don't know if that's going to be acceptable. Stanford Steve, I hope you are not watching this stream right now. The one and only Jeffrey Goodman. Jeff, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm a little tired today. I don't know why. I feel a little, a little bit like
last night. Too much overtime action in Stillwater.
Hey, there was some the first game was boring as hell. I mean, that Duke-Syracuse game was over after 5 minutes. But to me, again, still significant, obviously, both ways. I mean, Duke continuing their momentum. I wonder if one analyst is finally going to just say, like, listen, I was wrong. I was wrong on this. And listen, we all do it. We're all wrong about a lot of things. And Jay Billis is a very, very, very smart guy who's right on most things. But I think he was wrong on this Jalen Johnson thing. I do think Duke is better without Jalen Johnson. There's nothing wrong with saying sometimes, even without a talented player, you can be better. Like, there are a lot of teams, Rob, around the country that aren't that talented, but they play so well together. Maybe they rally together. Their chemistry is so good that they make up for not having as much talent as other teams. They play harder. They play together. They're better defensively. They're more locked in. They're more coachable.
When you don't have one player on the floor that is not completely bought, like, that's the kind of thing that can torpedo a defense. Yes. That's the kind of thing where the ball ends up in someone's hands too long. And it's like, also, it's not, I think, and I'm putting words into Jay's mouth here, and I haven't actually talked to him about this, but my read on the situation is he does not like the context and the insinuations that maybe this is involved with Jalen Johnson being a bad kid, or there are other implications involved with conversations like this. And I think it's also very important to point out that it's not just like a personality thing in the locker room. Jalen Johnson and Matthew Hurt both kind of needed to play the four for this team. Neither of them can guard threes. Neither of them are shot blockers. They both kind of like slot into the same position.
Well, they're different fours.
You can't.
They're very different fours.
Yeah, but they need to play it. That's like, you can't play them at the five. You can't play. They prove this with how much they struggle. You couldn't play Matthew Hurt at the four and Jalen Johnson at the five because you don't have enough rim protection. You don't have enough rebounding. You don't have enough interior defense. You can't play like Matthew Hurt at the three and Jalen at the four, or vice versa, because they're just going to get blown by whoever the three man is on the other team.
It's defensible.
Right? So
honestly, it's defensible. You can't play them both on the floor, Rob, because they're neither one are good enough defensively.
Because okay. I like how you take the point that I just made and you repurpose it and you take it as your own.
Exactly.
You just steal my point.
I'm trying to simplify it. And saying, honestly, whether they're fours, whether they're fives, whatever they are, neither one are very good defensively. So you can't put them both on the court because Matthew Hurt is limited what he can do defensively. And Jalen Johnson either just didn't want to do it or just didn't understand how to do it.
Yeah, I don't want to go too down for, like, we've spent so much time with Jalen Johnson. We don't have to go down the rabbit hole.
Agreed.
I will.
Duke is better without him. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying.
Okay, yeah, let's just say this is the best way to sum it up. You mentioned teams where the whole is greater than the sum of the parts. Right now, Duke's whole is greater than the sum of the parts. With Jalen Johnson, the sum of the parts was better than the product that was on the floor, and the sum of the parts was like, whatever. You guys know the point I'm making. We don't have to go into it anymore. All right, Texas Tech lost again. They are now 6-7 in the Big 12. They are 14-18 overall. Yeah. You love to harp on teams where it's like, oh, look at their resume. What have they done? Who have they beaten? What have they accomplished?
Yeah.
Take me through Texas Tech's resume and explain to me why they aren't being significantly overvalued right now.
Listen, I'm not saying their resume is great at this point. I'm not, but I think also when you look at the Big 12 and you've got enough opportunities and they've taken advantage of enough. They've played, obviously, a tough schedule, so that's going to help them in all the metrics, right? I mean, it is. I don't know what they are today in the net, but they're 25th, I think, in Ken Palm right now.
Yep.
So they're 25th. Their losses, ready? Here are their losses. Houston, Kansas, Oklahoma State, Baylor, West Virginia, Kansas, Oklahoma State. What do those teams all have in common, Robert?
They're all very good.
They're all ranked. All of them are ranked. I think
and
all
here,
of them
and take it a step further than you did. Take it a step further than you did, because they lost in overtime to Oklahoma State, right? Twice. One of those overtime losses was one that maybe shouldn't have been an overtime loss after all. If you remember the really bad foul call against Cade Cunningham. They lost by 1 at Kansas, and I believe that was a game where like Agbaji had a bucket with like 15 seconds left or something like that to give Kansas the win, and the Texas Tech missed opportunities to win the game. And then they lost by 1 at West Virginia when Miles McBride hit a game winner, and then Mac McClung came down at the other end and missed. So like they're 4 possessions away from being a team that is 18-4 with a sweep of Oklahoma State on their resume, with another win over Kansas, and with a win at West Virginia. And if that's their resume, then all of a sudden we're looking at this team like, okay, that's a top 10 team. And we're probably saying like, why don't we talk about them kind of in that number 1 seed conversation, number 2 seed conversation? So they're the point that you're making.
They've swept Oklahoma. They've beaten Texas. So like they've got enough on their resume. Again, you look at it and you say like no bad losses. In fact, every loss is ridiculously good. And they've got a few good wins. So listen, I'm not saying they're a great team by any means right now. They're not. But I'm saying they're close, and you don't want to play them. You do not want to play them in the NCAA tournament. That's what I'll say is if Terrence Shannon gets healthy, okay, and you've got Beard coaching him, and you give him 4 or 5 days to prepare for you, and you got Mac McClung that you have no idea what Mac McClung is showing up, you don't want to play them. They're dangerous. That's all.
Yeah. I think that their ceiling is somewhat limited because, like we talked about the other day, this is not a team. The team that made the national title game had 3 NBA players on the roster, including the number 6 pick. Yeah. This team has Mac McClung.
He's not, and he's not an NBA player to me. No. He's not. An NBA player.
Yeah, it's very.
He's a good college player.
Yeah, he's a really good college player. So they're fine. I'm not.
What about Oklahoma State? Like, have we given Mike Boynton enough credit?
No, of course not.
Right?
He's awesome. Like he's having an unbelievable season. You have to give him so much credit for what he's been able to do this year in the face of all the adversity.
Together, Rob. I mean, we all thought when everything happened and the NCAA hit them with the 1-year postseason ban, I think all of us thought like, all right, where's Cade going? All right, where's Isaac Likely going? This team, this program is going to fall apart. Somehow this dude kept them all together. And I think it is because, honestly, his relationship with kids and players. I think that's – Mike Boynton's a hell of a coach. He's shown that. But to me, his biggest strength are his people skills.
The thing that I love about him is that you don't get any like bullshit from him. When you have a conversation with him, like there's never something where he says like, look, can we keep this off the record, right? If he's going to say something to you, he's going to put his name to it. And I've always respected that about him.
It's great to see because I remember that year, if you remember a few years ago, the 2 hires there were 2 hires with black assistant coaches, and it was Mike Boynton and Wyking Jones. And, Wyking, it was like Cal tried to hire everybody under the sun, and they just couldn't get anybody. They couldn't get Randy Bennett. They couldn't get a bunch of other people, and they went on the cheap. And Wyking, it didn't work out. And I think a lot of people knew it wasn't going to work out. At least I think I did. With Mike Boynton, I wasn't sure. I'll admit it. I wasn't sure. I didn't know Mike Boynton well enough. Very charismatic, no BS. He had obviously worked for some really good coaches, but you just didn't know. And again, now you just look at what he's done, and you hope again. You don't even hope. Like NCAA, like you cannot do anything in the next few weeks. And
there's 19 days between now and Selection Sunday.
They won't.
If you're gonna drop the hammer on them now and say like, okay, we've finished this appeal, it's just gonna be such a PR disaster. Like why at this point, like there are people in those rooms that are making those decisions. And if someone makes the decision that we're gonna like rip this away from these kids at this point, after everything that they've been through this year.
No,
why would you set yourself up for that?
It's the biggest PR nightmare. Honestly, they've had a lot of them.
Nobody knows like how any of this stuff happens. So if they just say, yeah, we got delayed, we had too much stuff come up, we couldn't have the meeting until April and make the decision, and then give them the postseason ban for next year. Like, who's gonna know? Who's gonna say anything otherwise? No one has any idea.
Else is being put off. So yeah, just wait. You can do it on April 7th. That's fine.
The last thing, I just want to reiterate the point that part of the reason Oklahoma State went with Mike Boynton in the situation that they did was because it's very easy for them to say, okay, we got this guy on the cheap. We'll give him a couple years, and if it doesn't work out, then we can say we hire somebody black, and then maybe we can go out and get a different hire and hire whoever we want, and we won't feel hemmed in by the fact that we just had Travis Ford to Brad Underwood to another white coach, right? So I don't think we had this conversation the other day, and I don't want to go like belabor the point again, but having a young black assistant step up and in this situation go out and have the level of success that he's having is the kind of thing that's going to open the doors for other people that look like Mike Boynton, that have come from where Mike Boynton comes from, that are in the same situation as he is. So I'm happy in that respect that he's kind of proven that this is a risk that is a gamble that's worth taking. And like, look, bottom line, when you hire an assistant at a head major job in the Big 12 with no head coaching experience, that's a gamble. You're taking a risk no matter what. Doesn't matter the color of his skin. Like that's a roll of the dice. And I'm happy that it's working out for him. And I like Mike. So he's a very easy guy.
Everybody likes Mike Boynton. Yeah. Everybody likes Mike Boynton. And the crazy part of that is usually it's everybody likes, Josh Pastner. Everybody likes Brad Stevens. Everybody likes these guys that are kind of, I don't want to say vanilla, but like they're non-controversial. Mike Boynton is not like he'll say whatever's on his mind. And yet everybody still likes Mike Boynton.
Yep. I just want to address something. Our Marlo Stanfield, Gil Boldberg, the guy with 1,000 names. He said maybe Cade stayed because they were paying his brother 6 figures to coach there.
Legally.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of the reason why that commitment was made when he got there. But the reason he stayed is because of the relationship that he has with Mike Boynton.
Wait. Can I add on to that? There were multiple other high major schools that made it clear to Cade and his brother that they would take them both in a package deal when it came down that the NCAA hit Oklahoma State with a 1-year postseason ban. So
and tell them how much he got offered by the G League Ignite team.
Yeah, a shit ton of money. As
much as Jalen Green got, and Jalen Green's getting like $500K. So
he could have listen. Cannon Cunningham's making good money at Oklahoma State. He could have made good money. Probably there were a couple openings at Texas Tech and Texas at the same time. And my guess is Chris Beard and Shaka Smart would have found a way to pay Cannon Cunningham the same money.
Hey, I'll tell you what. If Cade Cunningham was on Texas Tech right now, like he is the mold of the player that they are looking for, right? Yeah. He is basically a better version of Jarrett Culver. He is he's taller than Keenan Evans, but they're both kind of the same guy where it's like you put him in ball screens at the end of the clock and you let him rock and he goes out and makes a play. So, all right, let's do you have anything to say about USC Oregon? Like, I was told I need to call you out for the fact that you said, give me Dana Altman and the points. I don't care who they're playing.
Yep.
So I was told you have some people on Twitter that are saying that was a little bit of a good man, bad info kind of a situation right there.
It was a terrible pick. It was a terrible pick. I mean, listen, it looked like Oregon was point shaving early.
Oh, they were completely out of sorts.
It was unbelievable.
So USC had like jumped into like this little kind of matchup 2-3 zone kind of a deal. And like it completely took Oregon out of everything they wanted to do. You know what it looked like? It looked like a team on the West Coast playing a 6 o'clock tip on a Monday when they've never played a 6 o'clock tip and they've never played on a Monday.
It was awful. I mean, it was awful. And yeah, Tajides, he was great. Drew Peterson was really good. Mobley was Mobley. Like he wasn't even great. And they still beat the living hell out of an Oregon team that, has some talent, but you just look at them. And one of the things that to me, again, is just kind of glaring is their lack of real rim protection. Like they don't have it. And if Duarte's not making shots, I don't know. They just looked like garbage last night. And now
here's the thing. in the second half, they played pretty well. And granted, they were down by a lot, but I do think that Oregon is at their best when they get when they're running up and down the floor and they're having to trap a little bit and they're having to press a little bit because
they missed every open shot. Like they missed everything early. I mean, it was
just. I honestly think it was just one of those nights for Oregon. I'm still in on them. I still think that they're a tournament team. That win over Colorado is going to look very good for them. But this was one of those nights. All right, let's talk about tonight's slate. Every line, every total, every betting line that we talk about on this is courtesy of our friends over at Bet Rivers, who are our partners on this show. Jeffrey, not a bad slate tonight.
No, I like it. Actually, I think it's very underrated, Robert. Very, very underrated.
And I do think we need to start by talking about the biggest storyline of the night. Do you know what that is?
The biggest storyline of the night? Yeah. I mean, it's easy. It's easy, and it might be my favorite play.
What is Baylor?
The return.
The turn of the Baylor Bears.
The Baylor Bears.
The Fighting Scots.
Story coming out on the Bears today. The story is how Baylor was built. And I talked to every single player on the Baylor team and just kind of got their story and how they ended up at Baylor and their recruitment and the way it's put together. I mean, there's a lot of luck involved in this team, let's be honest. But they've been out for a while. And they're coming back tonight against an Iowa State team that you've fallen in love with a little bit.
Yeah, I actually like Iowa State tonight plus 23. Like I know that they are they're 2-16 on the season. Like the bottom has completely fallen out for Steve Prohm, and I feel kind of bad for him and for this team. Like they never were able to really get it going with all the COVID stuff, and they just haven't had the talent to make it up. But even playing on the road, I think 23 points to me is too many for a team coming out of a 3-week break, especially because
how many practices Baylor's had?
2.
Yeah. I talked to Scott Drew yesterday before they went into practice, and he was like, "Thank God we didn't have to play Sunday." I'm like, "Yeah, you get 2 practices instead of And again, listen, Baylor's terrific. I just feel like, again, there's going to be some fatigue setting in.
It's rust, it's legs. Like the whole thing, the way that Baylor's built is around like defense that takes a lot of legs and then shooting jumpers and making threes. And that can wear on you a little bit. So 23 points in a game that I don't think is going to be super up tempo against a team. Like the way Baylor plays defense is they switch everything and they force you to beat them in isolation. And Iowa State does not do a lot of things well. The one thing they do well is have guys that can go out and win in isolation. So I don't know.
All they got to do is keep the game. I mean, honestly,
lose by 22 points and you're good and you cover.
Exactly.
Lose by 22 points.
I mean, come on. You can't do that against a team that again hasn't played in 3 weeks. Like, I don't know.
You know what? So here's another line that made no sense. There are 3 lines that made absolutely no sense to me when I saw them. The second one is St. John's getting 11.5 at Villanova.
It's a lot of points.
It's a lot of points.
Shit ton of points. I'm taking the Johnnies. I'm rocking with my Johnnies. I got my hat over there. I might put it on right now.
Yeah, so I like the Johnnies here too. It feels like a little bit of a fish play because they did beat them the last time that they played. And the thing about like Villanova, I was all over Villanova when they were at St. John's. I think that line was 7 maybe at St. John's. So it's now 11.5 at home, which means that number went up quite a bit. But the thing about Villanova is like the way that they play should be able to negate all of the stuff that St. John's wants to be able to do. Like Villanova leads the nation in turnover percentage offensively. Like they are the least turnover prone team in college basketball.
Yep.
And St. John's defense, like, look, they pressure you. They try to force turnovers. They want to get it out and run to the half court. So while that does kind of point to Villanova having some success, when Villanova plays the way that they want to play, everything is possession by possession. They want to take 25 seconds off the shot clock. I feel like they kind of got this reputation for being an up and down team because they scored a whole bunch of points in 2018. No, they play at a very slow tempo. They're very methodical. They want to dribble the ball up. They want Colin Gillespie starting to get into some of their actions and some of their concepts with like 18 seconds left on the clock. And
you just want again, St. John's is a right now they're a team that has to get a win like this to put themselves back, even in the bubble conversation after losing to Paul. But you feel like, hey, they've got to have some confidence after already beating Villanova recently. And they do match up fairly well. But on the flip side, you look at it and you say, all right, and this is what I've always said about Mike Anderson and his system is the first time around, it's a little bit of a shock when you have to play against that both offensively and defensively, Mike Anderson's system. But once you play him once, you're kind of used to it. You know what's coming. You've seen it. You've witnessed it. Like you can feel it. Like I think then it's different the second time around a lot of times. So I think St. John's will play with them. I don't think they're beating them, but I think they could stay within, and they will stay within 11.
So just to wrap it all up, the reason why I really like this number is one, St. John's played really well against Villanova last time. They have to get this win, and two, if Villanova plays the way that they want to play, it's going to be a slower pace. It's going to be lower scoring. It's going to be fewer possessions.
Control tempo.
That's a lot of points for a slower.
Well, St. John's got off to a good start against Villanova last time they played, didn't they? So Villanova had to play catch up, right? They tried to. Yeah. Yep. So to me, if Villanova gets off to a good start, they'll control the tempo. I think they'll keep it lower scoring.
Yeah. We had a comment that said Villanova's defense ranks below Iowa's. You never hear that brought up. I talk about it all the time.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not.
I've been saying since the first game of the season, like the biggest weakness that Villanova has is their inability to put the ball on the floor and get to the rim. But also part of the reason why it's never brought up, hophead, which by the way, hopefully means you're a big beer guy. I hope you're a big beer guy. I'm a big hophead too. But part of the reason it isn't brought up is because people don't view Villanova in the same lens as they view Iowa right now. Like Iowa has the probably National Player of the Year front runner. They are the best offense in college basketball, and they are a team that pretty much everyone considers like top 5 with like one of the best teams in the Big Ten and with a real chance to get to a Final Four. People don't really talk about Villanova in that same context at this point in the season. So
I don't know why, but you're right.
We did earlier. Well, it's because they have these issues defensively, and they just don't have the same level of wins or the same level of like interesting games that they've played. And I think that's really what it comes down to, is why no one brings it up, because like obviously they're probably trending to like a 3 seed, maybe a 4 seed if they take a bad loss. People are really talking about like, oh, this is why a 3 or 4 seed can't win when like they're a 3 or 4 seed, whereas Iowa could probably climb up to that 2 line if they have a really good week next week when they play Michigan and Ohio State. Like they could climb up to that 1 seed line maybe, and that's when you start being like, well, this is why a 1 seed can't fail, because we know why they're awesome. Does that make sense? It's just a little different context in how we discuss teams like that. All right, another line that I thought was completely baffling and makes no sense to me.
Go ahead.
And you're going to be like, wow, you are on this team? Haven't you been hating on this team all season long? Kansas getting 3 at Texas.
Right. No, I'm the same thing. I circled that one. I got Kansas getting 3 against a Texas team that has been bad lately and just came off a disastrous loss to West Virginia, I think you could say, with infighting amongst their team. So I don't trust. It'll be interesting to see if Shaka can get this squared away. Get it back in the right direction, because it could go bad. It could, like, if this is an ugly one, and remember what happened when these 2 teams played in Lawrence. Remember what happened, Robert.
Texas won by 675 points.
Yeah, I think it might have been 680. It might have been 680. But like, think about this. Like, is Kansas going to exact revenge? They probably had this one circled for whatever it's been, 6 weeks. It feels like 6 weeks since they played. So yeah, I like Kansas and the points. I like Kansas.
Actually, it's been 7 weeks since they played.
Wow.
The season has flown by, dude.
I know.
The season has flown by. It's March in 5 days. It's March in 5 days. 5 days.
What's that? Yeah, March in 5 days.
5 days.
Yeah.
Look at you like that Dawson math? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 days. It's March in 5 days.
Nice.
Great. The only thing that I will say about this is that if Texas does get it back together and start playing well again, like they have the makeup of a team that can really really suffocate what Kansas wants to do. Jericho Sims is a really, really good post defender. And then what Texas does defensively is they just take you out of your actions and make you beat them one-on-one. Right. And part of the reason that Kansas struggled against them so much the first time that they played is that they don't have anybody that can win one-on-one. Like that's the whole issue with the Kansas rosters. Like they have to get points out of their sets, right? Like they have to run offense to get action. They don't have anyone that can just go make a play. And the strength in the Texas defense is that they don't let you run your sets to get offense. Now, that was the case in early January. Since then, Texas has now lost, let me do the math real quick, 4 out of 6, 5 out of their last 8 games. They're now 7-5 in the Big 12. If they lose this, they are going to end up being 13-7 on the season. They could end up being a 500 team in the Big 12 if they lose
easily. If they lose these 2 games, right? They got 2 games left. They lose them both. Who do they have? The final game is
at Texas Tech.
Right. I mean, hey, listen, there's probably a better chance they finish 500 than anything else in league play right now that they lose both these.
Yep. All right. 2 more things. We got a comment from Armin. Armin, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. At Bet Rivers, I have that line at Michigan State +6.
Right. It's 6 or 6.5. It's not. Yeah. It's not 11.
I don't know where you're seeing 11.5, but if you can get sporty at 11.5, and you're not saying like,
let me know where you're getting it.
Yeah. Yeah. So like I would be all over that, but that's not what we have at Bet Rivers. At Bet Rivers, we got it at +6. What do you think? At +6, I think I probably like Illinois.
I don't like it
at that number.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me either way at +6. Now the one I
mean, here's the thing. Like you know what we look for when it comes to Illinois matchups.
Yeah,
who's going to be able to pull Kofi away from the basket? And who on Michigan State's going to be able to pull the whole problem with this team is they don't have a good point guard or they don't have a good 5.
Right.
And Illinois has the best point guard in the country and maybe the biggest 5 in all of college.
Kofi might be able to snap poor Bingham in half.
Yeah. Like, oh, man, he's going to bury him. Have they played? I don't think they've played it this year, have they? No, this is the first time.
I wish this was a normal year, Rob, because I'd say, you know what? We'd take a trip to Champaign, Illinois. And we'd put you in the post against Kofi and let him throw you around like a rag doll. Like, that would be worth it. I would pay for that trip. I would pay for everything associated with that trip.
See, I'm the guard. I would be the one that has to guard Io. You'd have to guard Kofi if you played 2.
That ain't happening. Now,
you know what I do? I just sit on Io's right hand and make him go left all day.
Yeah, well,
that's good.
You know what?
Go well for me.
You know what? He'd still find a way to get past you.
It's not going to be hard. All right.
I got a few more.
You got
a few more lines that I like. Now, again, Missouri only given 4 against Ole Miss at home. I don't know. I mean, listen, I get they went through a tough stretch there, but 2 of those games were without Jeremiah Tillman. So I like Mizzou there. What are you looking at? What are you smiling at?
Nick just sent a funny email. He called me a fucko. And I was like, I've never heard that before.
Kind of true.
That's a good one, Nick. That's a good one. All right, keep going.
Missouri had lost 3 in a row, 2 without Tillman. They got Tillman back. They beat South Carolina in Columbia pretty handily. Now they get Ole Miss at home. Ole Miss coming off a loss, right? Bad loss to Mississippi State.
What's the line there? I'm trying to find it.
4.
Oh, yeah, 4. And Missouri's at home. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Yep.
Yeah, I was surprised. That's a line that surprised me. The other line that surprised me, Louisville at home against Notre Dame, 3.5. Those are the 2 that were like at home. And Louisville, like, listen,
I'm staying as far away from Louisville as I can right now. It kind of feels like the bottom is getting ready to fall out of that thing with, the Chris Mack video and like some of the criticism that he's gotten for going maskless in that video with all of the COVID issues that Louisville has had. They just lost by 8,000 at North Carolina. Yeah, there's no way that those kids are having fun right now with all the stuff that they've gone through. Like, there's no way that they're having fun on that team. So I don't know. In theory, I like it, but I don't feel I don't love it. Like if there was nothing else going on and it was just the basketball game, then yes, I would be with you. But I'm going to stay away from that one.
All right. What else?
I'm loading my picks into bet spurts right now.
I like St. Louis at VCU. VCU without Bones Highland. He's hurt. St. Louis has to win this game. I mean, has to. Like even if they win this game, they're not at large. But like they have the talent. We've said it all year. They've had multiple issues with pauses. They get VCU. You know, I assume there aren't fans. I don't know. Are there fans at the Siegel Center?
No.
All right. So if there are no fans, that takes away that huge home court advantage. I don't know. I just think St. Louis is talented as hell.
They are. They are.
They should win this one. They're given 3.5 without VCU having their best player. I'm told Ohio's going to be without a couple key players, so I'm going Akron there.
Yeah. Do you like the under there? We've gotten a couple questions in the chat about Akron, Ohio under. And
I don't know about the under. I like Akron there because, again, Ohio, I think coming off a pause without a couple starters. I like Pacific at San Diego, given 3.5, and I like Bowling Green at Central. I'm doing a lot of road teams today. A lot of road teams. Bowling Green 7.5 over Eastern Michigan. I think Rob Murphy is on his way out there at Eastern Michigan. And so those are kind of three mids I like. And
How about these guys?
I'm taking UConn. So I'm taking UConn even though I don't know. I mean, honestly, I don't feel good about it. I just look at the line and I'm like, how can UConn not win this game against Georgetown? I get
– Georgetown's won 4 of their last 6. They're playing –
I know. They've been good. They've been good.
They're at home.
And Bouknight, if he's not healthy, listen, if Bouknight, if his elbow is still bothering him, they're not winning that game. So I don't know how
his elbow. It's the issue right now with Bouknight is not his elbow. It's his legs and his endurance. Like if he was
grabbing his arm. No, he was grabbing his arm during the game.
But because he fell and he was shaking it. But that's not why he was missing shots. Like when they played against Providence, he had to come out because he was getting cramps. If you go back and you watch like the second half against Villanova, he just has no burst. He can't get by anyone. He gets in the lane and he's shooting shots with his arms. He's making bad decisions, dribbling. Like he just looks like he's gassed.
Yeah.
And because he comes out on fire, like against Providence and against Villanova, he came out on fire. And then it's just like it's gone. So like honestly, I don't know why Hurley's playing him 36 minutes. I understand that you need Bouknight out there, but like the dude's got no legs right now. You got
bad because this UConn team, if they had ever had like a healthy Cook and a healthy Bouknight, man, just be a totally different deal. And a Cook, doesn't even really play.
Yeah, I mean, Joe just said part of being a good player is staying healthy, and like I get that.
But got hurt.
But it's not like this isn't one where it's like a recurring injury. Like he went for a loose ball and the dude dove on his arm and hyperextended his elbow and he needed surgery to fix it. Like what? That's just like shitty.
Oh, that's a dumb comment, Joe. That's a dumb comment.
No. His point makes sense. Like you can't be effective.
You can't control it sometimes. You can't control it.
Yeah, and there's times where maybe the way that I'm looking at it is like when it comes to like awards and stuff like that, you can't award a guy that only played half the season because part of being like effective is being on the floor. And part of valuing a player, like you're going to value someone like Nikola Jokic who doesn't get hurt over someone like a Joel Embiid because, if you're only getting Joel Embiid for 50% of the time, why do you want him? So like I get that, but it's also like this isn't with Book. It's not like a recurring thing where he just can't get healthy. It's someone fell on his elbow and hyperextended it in the middle of a season, and now he's trying to work his way back after surgery. So it's I get what your point is, Joe, but like I think this is the wrong situation for it. Anyway, you got anything else?
That's it. Oh, we got a ding at the end.
Got a ding
under the wire. Look at that. Under the wire. I like it.
I'm gonna blame Pat Bradley for that one.
That's who it was.
Unbelievable, Pat Bradley. Unbelievable. All right. That's all we got today. I'm pretty sure Joe is a Villanova fan, so he's in my doghouse right now after what happened on Saturday. You can come back next week, Joe.
All right, Bet Rivers. Don't forget, check out Bet Rivers. Use that promo code. There it is, $250 match
on the screen right there. $250 match, $250 match.
And check out our picks on Bet Sports. Obviously, by now. All mine are already in for the day.
There you go. All 37 of them.
12, I